Hello Internet, in this video we're going to be looking at how to create a lightning effect for your Warhammer models. A few years ago I created some basic lightning effects for my Tyranid Neurothrope to show off its superior psychic abilities on the battlefield. Whilst painting my way through the Leviathan box set, I thought I'd give the same treatment to my Dark Angel's librarian in Terminator armour. So in this video, I want to show you how I created this effect. For this process, all you will need is some paper clips, hobby clippers or pliers, super glue and your selected colour paints. The first steps take place just after the miniature has been built and before it has been primed. In order to create the bolts of lightning, we are going to twist and manipulate some paper clips into jagged lines. To do this, I simply use my hobby clippers to grab and bend parts of the paper clip. The more kinks and turns you create, the more active the bolts of electricity will appear. In this example, I use two different sizes of paperclip. As the larger one is thicker, I will be using this as a central bolt, which the other thinner strands can join to in order to create a subtle bit of variation. This is by no means essential, it just adds a little extra flair. Next we decide on some connection points and start using the super glue to fix things in place. We want it to look as though the axe has been psychically charged with energy that could burst at any minute. To achieve this look, the electricity will be branching from the head of the axe to the floor, rather than being pointed in a certain direction. I will create a couple of contact points on the floor and have the strands branch off the main bolt of electricity. I would recommend using a thinner super glue than I am using here, as it ended up leaving some texture where the points meet, which is a tad annoying in the painting stage. In order to make it look a bit more organic, I created one strand of lightning coming from the librarian's leg, to suggest a bit more randomness to the movement of the electricity. Once you are happy with the placement of the strands of lightning, we are ready to move on to painting. I left the painting of the lightning until last for my librarian, so that I could add some glow effects on top of the already painted armour. I'm choosing to use the magenta for my lightning, as I think it contrasts nicely against the blue of the armour and the orange of the base. However, you can use whichever colour you like, following the same principles. Firstly, I'm going to base coat all of the strands of electricity with magenta. This takes a bit of time as it is difficult to ensure you cover all the parts of these small cylinders. I would suggest using a larger brush than what I am attempting it with, as that will make it easier to quickly cover all areas. As I am painting over the top of black, I do two thin coats to ensure an even coverage. Once I am happy that the paint covers all the lightning, I start to add highlights. To do this, I mix a bit of white into my base colour and apply the same way I would when layering paints. I focus on the parts where the lightning either changes direction or joins another piece. It can be hard to figure out where to place highlights on something like this, as we are representing energy rather than a physical object, so the normal rules of highlighting the most raised areas don't really apply. Instead, I opt to highlight the areas where we have bent the paper clips to help guide the eye across the movement we have created in the strands. I do a couple more layers following this rule, covering less space each time whilst adding more white to the mix, to focus the highlights. As a way of neatening up these transitions, you can thin down your base coat to a glaze consistency and use it over the transition areas to help blend them together. The last stage can be done with either a paintbrush or an airbrush, and I'm using an airbrush here just for ease. To make the points of contact really stand out, I spray a small circle of white at each place where the paperclip touches either the base or the model. You can do this with a brush too, just make sure the paint gets thinner near the edges of the circles to show the energy dispersing. Next, I use a thinned down version of the base colour to wash over the white paint, which will hopefully make the recesses magenta whilst leaving the raised points white. To smooth the transition between the pink and the orangey base colour, I added dabs of water to the edge of the magenta area, which thins it out a bit. The very last thing I do is dab some small bits of white in the very centre of the circle where the electricity touches the ground to make it appear as though it is the hottest point. You can definitely push this method further to create a smoother, more intense colour transition, but I think this is a nice easy way of creating a cool effect to make your models look like they're brimming with energy on the tabletop. I hope you found this video useful, thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.